This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hey, Place to Be Nation, Adam Murray here, one half of the NBA team. This is part 2 of our Gone Fishing series. If you listened to part 1, first, thank you very much. Second of all, we sort of explained, we're just going to release a couple teams at a time, just as opposed to just glossing over the entire conference at once. We're just picking and choosing 3 or 4 teams per episode. And this is part 2, so enjoy. Sorry about the microphone issues, sort of. Mine sort of broke halfway through all of these, and I become highly overmodulated. So, I mean, if we didn't have problems, it wouldn't be the NBA team, because that's what we're really known for. But again, thank you for listening. On behalf of my co-host, Andrew Riche, I am Adam Murray. Here is part 2. So who is our first team for today?
Scheme. Murray's got 14. Sixers running Simmons along with Riche in the backcourt. The guy's got it now in Embiid in the middle. He's got a mismatch, and he promptly throws it down in the face of Paul Millsap. Joel Embiid, maybe that gets the Sixers going.
And when you look over at the Nuggets bench, all the Nuggets are looking at one another without saying a word.
The process is here, Adam Murray, or is it over, or are we at a new process? Like, where is it? Is it the progress, or what? Where are we at with the Philadelphia 76ers?
Well, the process started off of Nerlens Noel and Jahlil Okafor.
So you're going all the way back to like alpha hinky mode.
And then we're just forgetting that. I thought the process wasn't that Simmons too. No, we're just forgetting about Simmons, and Fultz was supposed to be part of the process. No, it's just we're just going to call Embiid that. That's fine. All right, Philly. Okay, yes, we'll just get it out of the way. Exciting to watch. We know this team. This team just rests on Embiid's back and his knees, and if they go out, there's.
Do you have any other body parts that you want to rely on for Joel Embiid? His face, his legs, his patella. Like, yeah. Is there any other part of Joel Embiid?
And everything that's not falling apart right now. And, you know, you have this team. Okay, the process now has to be over. You do your moves this year, and then, like we've mentioned with every other team, and we'll continue to mention, cap space. I don't know if anybody thought of this when it happened, but all these teams now are just running out of money fast.
Well, they're running out of future money fast is the issue.
Yes, and you can't spend because, well, you need this money. I need this money in 2 years for Simmons, so I can only sign you for 2 years. And, you know, one of the problems was, you know, I saw it as a problem. You seem to disagree was the J.J. Redick. You signed him to that $22 million deal.
Yeah, 1 year, $22 million.
However, he has become so invaluable, his shooting, you can't let him go now because you don't have a replacement for him. There's nobody who's a shooter on that team like he was.
Okay, here's where I'll give a lot of credit to Embiid and Simmons. I think Redick's success, while being a great shooter individually wherever he's been, was a byproduct of what they were able to provide for him. You know, you've seen Redick on teams where he didn't look so great. You know, there was a year or so there with the Clippers where it's like, he looks like a fish out of water here. You know, so I feel like it was just right place, right time. Now, Redick, like you said, you know, he's out on the open. Now, that happened also with Kyle Korver last year, and he went back to Cleveland at a lower price, and people were pretty shocked by it. You know, Redick's 33. He's not on the 35-year end like Korver was, but still a good player. I don't think he's like outshot his value. I don't think he's at a point where it's like, oh man, they can't keep him. It's impossible. I think they still can. But you're looking at it of like, well, when Ben Simmons becomes a restricted free agent around 2019, 2020, you got to save up that max space. You signed Embiid to 5 years, 148, and that kicks in next year. And now you're running out of all this money. And I agree with that. But I think the bigger decision has to be between, you know, Dario Saric and Ben Simmons, because I don't think you'll be able to extend them both. I think that will be the biggest situation when they get down that road. I think for this offseason, they still have a lot of room to work with.
See, I don't think so because, well, yes, they do. You know, you hear all the stories. Well, they could sign LeBron. They could go after this. They could go after that.
That's a pipe dream. That is a pipe dream.
And yes, but at the same time, yes, they do have the finances to do it because they signed right to a 1-year deal. It's just, like I said, you have no replacement for him and his shooting. He provides a fit for that team that if you let him go, he's not going to come back on, well, we'll give you $10 million. He's not going to want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what you're saying is, like, can you get a high priority type of shooter like JJ Redick is in the open market? At $20 million, yeah.
You mentioned Kyle Korver, but Kyle Korver can't do anything else other than shoot a three. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't play defense. So yeah, that's why he went back to Cleveland for lower money, because he has no value to any other team. So,
and JJ Redick has a podcast too. That goes
JJ Redick just provides threes, which teams need.
He was a very good cog to the scoring system. Korver is sort of like that with Cleveland still, but Redick has a little bit more oomph to him. I agree with that. Robert Covington got his extension too in the offseason, right before the season began. But I sort of questioned his ability defensively. I think he gets a little too much credit. There were some moments in that Boston series where they were eliminated in the second round where I was just like, I don't really see it there. But listen, Brett Brown likes him.
He got his money because he was the 3-and-D guy, because they never drafted a small forward. They never signed a small forward. It was always, well, we need a new center. We need another new center. Hey, you know what? Let's get a third center. And let's follow that up with 2 point guards in a row. So he was by default the only mid-sized guy on that team.
Can I give you a what if? What if they actually just stayed at 3 and they drafted Tatum?
This team would be totally different.
Well, yeah, I mean they would be a championship contender by 2019. So, just saying. But TJ McConnell, very smart deal here. They got him also on a team option at $1.6 million, an incredible discount for a guy who's just like I would call him a good backup point guard in the NBA.
Oh yeah, he is extremely valuable on the second unit. You don't want to see him starting, because then some starters are out, and that's never a good thing. He's gonna get the Dellavedova raise soon. Yeah,
Markelle Fultz, such a weird story. I mean, he's really talented. There's a reason that they reached up to get him at number 1. Had a triple-double at the very end of the year, but he had all that drama with his shooting, his shoulder problems, and then when he came back, he seemed to be coming back around with the shooting, but he barely played in the playoffs. It was just a shit show for Fultz's rookie year.
It was one of the it was what is going on with Philadelphia's doctors. Ben Simmons had an ankle sprain, or he had plantar fascia.
He had a broken foot
in the summer league. They shut him down.
That one. Yeah, you're right.
I don't recall that being a severed foot incident. And what shut him down for the entire year? Embiid sneezes, you shut him down for the year. Fultz, okay, he can't lift his shoulder past his elbow. Oh, he's fine. Just send him out there. He doesn't know how to shoot anymore. No, he's fine. Don't worry about it. Is this some sort of New Orleans Saints thing here, where the doctors are just...
Don't you dare do that. The thing that was weird about Embiid is that they were so careful with him for so long, and then he breaks his orbital bone and they rush him back so that he can play in the playoffs. That I found kind of funny. The one thing I'll say about Joel Embiid that I always questioned, because I didn't know how many games or minutes we would actually max out of him in a regular season or a playoff or in a postseason because of his injuries. The thing I will say about Joel Embiid is that when you get him for max value, holy shit, is he a good player. I will say that about Embiid.
And they had no choice but to max him out, and you can't not max him out. There's no case of, no, you should really just give him a 1-year deal, have him prove himself. You have to just sort of live or die with him.
Yeah, he's ready. I don't know if mentally he's ready for the moment, but in terms of his talent level and his experience, he's ready. This is his time.
It's my time. It's my time.
But I mean, best center in the league or close?
No, he's not the best center in the league, but he is. He just needs to not want to shoot the three.
Do you think people are starstruck by the amount of progress they got out of Embiid and the rookie Ben Simmons at the same time?
No, because Embiid, you knew what you were getting, and he didn't really change from last year. It's just now it's more constant. Whereas Simmons, it was, well, he can't shoot, so what could he really do? And he doesn't have that quickness, or he doesn't have that speed. Well, yeah, but he has quickness, and he's elusive in his speed, and you don't need to shoot. There's tons of point guards who could be a pass-first point guard, and make it sound like it's every point guard apparently needs to be, Steph Curry, who just shoots threes from like 50 feet when he needs to. You don't need to be that type of player, and especially being 6'10" and just being that insanely like
a true point forward too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's the definite. I mean LeBron revolutionized it, but Ben Simmons is one. But the one thing I will say that you got to have issue with when you watch him in the playoffs when adversity hit, that passiveness he got accused of at LSU, it sort of creeps in every now and then when you watch Simmons. Like, you got to get a little bit aggressive. You got to show a little bit more. Like, I do see a little bit of that kicking in sometimes when adversity hits for Simmons.
Yeah, and that's just rookie mistakes and rookie
playoff loss mistakes. I mean, it's you need that. You need that feather in your cap to show, okay, I know what to do better next time.
Well, that was just completely bonehead plays of just, I don't know who was off on what pass and, passing to the back of people and just, the Celtics had kind of embarrassed them with their mental mistakes at the end.
They were number one rebounding team. Defensively, their numbers looked good all the way across. The only thing is, like, defensively, when I watched them, I didn't think they were that great. But the numbers seem to show that they were. Offensively, I really was impressed with Philadelphia. But the turnovers, they were last in the league in turnovers, Adam. They got to find a way to wash that out. I don't know if it's going to be Fultz running the point that'll be able to do it. I don't know what they can do there, but they got to find a way to put in a system. We have to limit turnovers somehow.
And that was just, it's... I don't know whether it's just coaching or just mental fortitude, but you got to learn how to passing fundamentals 101. I don't know how you can not have it, but somehow this team managed to master it.
Their free agency is kind of interesting, but we're going to go rapid fire with it. Team option for Rashawn Holmes at $1.6 million. I think they'll use it. Amir Johnson, history. Justin Anderson, I don't think they can get rid of him right now.
Okay.
Furkan Korkmaz, give him another chance.
He's a developmental guy. He wasn't. I don't think he was. Could get on the court, but.
And then their waiver pickups to help to boost their playoff roster, which actually turned out to be good hits, both of them. Ersan Ilyasova and Marco Bellinelli. Can they get them both, or did they lose them both, or do they get one of them?
I think they could get one of the two, depending upon how lofty their goals are. Where they're like, oh, we could go after LeBron and trade for Kawhi, and we could sign Paul George, and it's sort of, well, do you blow up this team and make a run for it by getting a superstar, or do you continue with your quote unquote process? And
because of the potential to lose JJ, I think they would probably keep Bellinelli. I think that would be their game plan right there, and let Ilyasova walk.
And another problem they have is the process gave them too many draft picks.
Yep.
And as we've seen with Korkmaz, and they're reaching a Celtics-like stage where they had to cut R.J. Hunter after 1 year because we have too many spots right now.
Yeah, and who was the other one? James Young that they picked up? They
kept James Young. I
mean, they probably liked Demetrius Jackson, but they can't keep him. It's not possible. Number 10 was the lottery pick. That was, it was kind of funny because if it had traded up to top 3, it was going to get interesting where the Celtics would have kept it if it was like 2 or 3, but if it was 1, Philly would have kept it, but that never happened. So they're at number 10. That's the end of, I believe, the Andrew Bynum, Dwight Howard trade, right?
Yep.
That's the end. Over. Done. Or or was that part of the Steve Nash trade where the Suns traded it to Philadelphia for Michael Carter-Williams?
I think it was the first one.
It was one of those crazy ones. But anyways, they get the number 10 pick. What do they need? You mentioned point guard. I'd probably try to go for another one.
What do they need? They need to not have 35 picks in the draft.
But here's the thing: you can't sell the picks unless someone desperately wants to get in the second round.
Yeah, and you sell one, you have to sell. You sell the rest, and
like a classic example would be you have 38 and 39, and most teams would probably pair them together in order to get into the first. Well, you already have 2 first-round picks. Why would you want 3 first-round rookie contracts? So you can't do that. You'd have to trade down.
All you could do is just get a euro with one of those, and you have to stash them away for a few years.
I mean, but that's what they did with Korkmaz, right?
Well, yeah, Korkmaz. They had the Latvian guy they traded from Orlando. They picked him and just
Yeah, I know you talk about. I can't remember his name. Like I kept start with a K, right? Last name start with a K.
Yeah.
Arturis, something like that.
I don't know, but Philly.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
They have more questions than answers at this point, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
But it's a really talented team, and they're very young.
Fun to watch. They brought excitement back.
Breaking news, no, they're not getting LeBron James. But I do have other breaking news. They're going to be really good next year.
Jokic back in, Eustace back in, 1.4 in regulation. Jokic. Harris, good if it goes! Denver wins!
Jokic running out of time here. Finds Gary Harris. Cash money rules.
All right, Adam, we've got the Denver Nuggets now. What do you have about the Denver Nuggets, Adam?
The Denver Nuggets are just a confusing team. This is what happens when you have so many draft picks. You don't know what to do with them, so you just get stockpiled talent. None of them are really superstars, but you have good players. What do you do with them? Last year, the problem was they went in. They said, we're going to get Millsap, we're going to pay $30 million, he's going to fit in perfectly, and then he didn't fit in perfectly, and you still have this roster of just, who are they, what are they? They cleared things up a little bit by trading Moody away, finally giving up on him, unfortunately. I mean, because I was unfortunate. I was on the he should be good side of the coin, but you just have like, well, what do you have? You gave Gary Harris that money. What do you got? It's just this team is just like meh.
Okay, that's gonna wrap up the Denver. Oh, no, joking. As we continue our little specials here, Nikola Jokic. Is he a top 20, top 15 NBA player? He's close.
He would have to be, I would say, definitely top 30.
By far the best player the Nuggets have. Better than Millsap, better than Jamal Murray, better than Gary Harris.
By far, you could say top 25.
So if Paul Millsap now listen, I know that was a short end with a team option on the third year. I get that. That's fine. But he got $29 million. What are they going to have to do to kind of wrap him up with the restricted free agency? Because you have some options. You can rescind, and then you can max him out. But here's the problem. You got the Carlos Boozer, like, gentleman's agreement, breaking your deal kind of thing, where if you rescind Jokic and he changes his mind and breaks his bond, then he just goes somewhere else and you look stupid. Or you can just dare any other team to give him, like, an Otto Porter type of, like, offer sheet, and then you match it.
I think after the Carlos Boozer thing, it's going to be – the papers will be right next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are going to file these things back to back. We are sending these 2 sheets of the fax machine, one after the other. First, we're rescinding it, you sign it, and then here's the new deal right after it. The same way, with the those Supermax deals and the renegotiation of Harden's contract, and, it's...
And he's worth it. I got to admit, he's worth it. Like, if you get him at 5 years now, starting in the 2018-19 season, he's absolutely worth that max level. He means 7. He averaged. Dude, everyone's talking about, this guy almost averaged triple double. Dude, Jokic averaged 18, 10, and 6. 18, 10, and 6. Multiple triple doubles.
He was just and like the problem with the team is he's leading the team in assists for most games.
Yeah, I mean, now listen, they did lose that last game to the Wolves, which turned out to basically be like what you would call it, a play-in game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost that one so they did not make the playoffs. But from what we can gather, unless something dramatically changes between now and June, Mike Malone is still going to be the coach. I know there was a ton of rumors that he was going to get let go, but it did not happen. Millsap looked good when he came back from injury, but I agree with you about how he didn't really fit that great. Jamal Murray is just so frustrating. Like, he looks great if he's a fantasy guy, if you own him in fantasy, it is a nightmare to have Jamal Murray. He could go for 31, he could go for 3. It's very frustrating player.
He looks very good. It's just you don't know. He's not a point guard.
No, he's not. Unlike Bogdan Bogdanovic,
who's also not a point guard.
I'll die on my hill. I'll die on that hill there. Yeah, Jamal Murray is clearly a 2, but he wants to be a 1. You can watch as he plays. You can see that.
And that's the thing, where it was like, in theory, it would have been perfect to put him with Moutier, a big point guard, an undersized 2. They can both work with or without the ball, and it didn't work. So now, you have Gary Harris, you have, Will Barton, you have Chandler.
Well, the problem with Harris, you just brought up Chandler. The first problem with Harris is that they signed Millsap to that big balloon payment because they had that cap space available to sign him with. And I think that's they're gonna reap in those benefits if they get a full season out of Millsap, because he's a really good player and he can give them leadership before he really goes into decline. Gary Harris wound up, that contract kicks in this year because they signed him, they wrapped him up before restricted free agency caught up to him. But now with Jokic getting his contract redone, now you're really I don't know if they'll be at the tax, but they're going to be really, really close unless you can get rid of Wilson Chandler, get creative with the trade there, somehow get rid of Kenneth Faried, who is beyond the doghouse. He is out of the doghouse. He's outside the backyard.
I don't know. He's not terrible. I just don't know. I don't know what happened to him. And, you were very anti-Mason Plumlee, but...
Yeah, I don't think he deserved being extended. I didn't understand.
He was Jokic insurance. Let's say Jokic got injured. Who would have been their center on this team?
Trey Lyles.
You're going to give it to Trey Lyles.
Well, you'd have to. Who had great revenge games against his former team, the Utah Jazz, but was not good against any other team but the Utah Jazz.
Pretty much. And that's the problem of you need, if you're going to be a center focused team, you need a backup center. For teams that, they play small ball, center's not important. You need to do it. And the problem with Denver is, and what I think they need to do this upcoming offseason, identify your core. Identify the players you want to go with. Okay, Hernan Gomez, he's good. Do you want to roll with him?
Is it time to give up on him? I agree. Yeah,
not time to give up, just move your pieces and take the guys you want to take with you. You can't take everybody with you. They're sort of holding themselves down by saying, we're all young. Let's all do it. You need to be okay, come on, cousin Jamal. You are coming with us. You are going to be the focus. Jokic, you are coming with us. Mike, Beasley, you know what? Take a step back. We don't think you're going to, they need to, you can't just have all young people waiting for somebody to do something, because some game somebody's going to step up, the next game they're going to disappear, and you can't just keep having that. You need to identify a core. This team does not have a core.
The problem is, too, between Hernan Gomez, Malik Beasley, and Tyler Lydon, who had a lot of injury issues, so he barely played, I think that they're sort of invested in all of them. I think with Hernan Gomez, the problem is, with Barton, Wilson Chandler, Darrell Arthur, who's got a player option, and then Faried, at least 2 of those 4 will be gone. So there will be a point with Hernan Gomez, with Juancho, where it's okay, can you do it? And they're going to put in a lot of investment to see if he can do it. Maybe it'll be Tyler Lydon, and we don't even know.
And maybe next year, I don't know what their playoff aspirations are, but I think next year you just have to be look, this is our team. Let's build our team next year. We're going to run out of money. Don't go adding more pieces. Don't go moving things around. I think don't make too many drastic moves. Develop your team, and then come trade deadline, either buy or sell based upon what you are.
The interesting thing of the offseason is once they wrap up the Jokic deal, which we think is reasonable, and they get close to that luxury tax apron, how will Stan Kroenke respond? Will he be willing to just take it in for 1 year and then maybe opt out on the Millsap deal, or are they going to start trying to dump Arthur, dump Chandler, dump Fareed in desperation to try to stay away from the tax, the same way that Ballmer kind of did with the Clippers?
They have 1 year. 1 year left on Millsap. It's a team option, the third year partial guarantee, is it, or?
Yeah, and it's partial guarantee in 2019. But what it is that, or after the 2019 season is over, and then you go to the next year. The problem is like you already talked about Gary Harris's contract kicking in, which is like $16 million per year. Good player, very good defensive player. Okay, basic only.
You have enough money to get through this year.
Yeah.
I'd say make a team, make a lineup, make a minutes, make a rotation, do something, and then next year I think they sort of have to just grow.
The team stats are very easy to figure out. Offensively, very, very good. Defensively, horse shit. So what do they do to try to improve the defense? You have a number 14 lottery pick, and then in the second round you have number 43 and number 58. So what can they do, or what should they try to do, either in the draft or through a trade? Because I think just straight up free agency and bringing somebody in because of potential tax issues is going to be very, very difficult.
Well, the question is, what can they do with their second-round picks? They have so many, you've identified 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 people they can't get that are core essential to their team. They have so many bodies on their team, they're not going to have enough room for 3 people. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and what are you going to get in the second round that you're not getting from your developmental guy? Well, we need to develop somebody, we need to develop a big. Well, you have Trey Lyles, who's still developing. He's only 22. Well, we want to develop a small forward. Well, you have Hernan Gomez is your developmental guy. Well, we need to develop. There's really no room at the inn for anybody to come in Denver and really succeed, I think.
Yeah, I think defensive wing, they might go in the lottery. You kind of see that?
They need a point guard.
That's true, but are you going to get a good point guard at the tail end of the lottery, like a Trae Young or like a Trayvon Duval? Like, is that somebody that you think that you can develop? And remember, time's running out with this team too. Millsap's only going to be there probably for another year.
Yeah, but again, if he's not going to fit in, and give him credit for trying. They went after Dwayne Wade. They went after all the big free agents.
They did.
They got who they got, and it just didn't work out.
But listen, there's a reason they came a game away from getting the playoffs in a very competitive Western Conference. Like, this is a very talented team. Would you agree?
Extremely talented.
I mean, the problem is like you're saying, like the fit is just where it's like, what are we doing here? And you sort of question what Mike Malone can really do as a coach because, he got the benefit of the doubt in Sacramento. A lot of that blame went on Divac and Vivek Ranade for kind of like running him out of there. But now we're at a point where it's like, okay, you got to show me what you can do. And the results this past season were very mixed, to say the least.
They were, considering that we thought this team should have been a playoff team easily. They should have been a 4 seed or a 5 seed, and then just didn't make it. And they just didn't. They didn't become anything. They were just the same team plus Millsap, which is
that. I agree with that. I agree with that. Like, that was our fear because we talked about, listen, can Millsap improve the defense? Well, if one guy can't make your defense from awful to good, it can make it from awful to really bad. The problem is, they were awful and they stayed awful. That was the one disappointing part. I agree with that.
All right, so then we've been disagreeing on them for a while. So final question, what do? Do they stand pat or do they tinker?
Well, they have to tinker on the bottom part just because of the cap situation. I think do they have enough money? Yes, but are they willing to go near the tax apron in case Jokic goes into supermax mode? That's the question. Like, I don't think they can keep Barton, Chandler, Arthur, and Fareed. Either all of them are going to be gone or 2 of the 4 are going to be gone. And that's going to drastically change the makeup of the team because now you have to rely on Hernan Gomez and Malik Beasley and maybe the next lottery pick that you have. That's going to sort of change the way the team works from the bench side. The top end stays the same. That's why, their free agency is going to be interesting, but they don't have a lot of wiggle room to make moves.
All right, fair enough.
The second pick will be made by the Sacramento Kings. And that means that the number 1 pick in the 2018 NBA draft goes to the Phoenix Suns.
So barring a trade, this will be the Suns' first number 1 overall pick in franchise history.
Hell has frozen over, Adam Murray. The Phoenix Suns won an NBA draft lottery. And they didn't need a flip of the coin like they did in the 60s when they didn't get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Remember that one?
Yeah, but has there been more of a dumpster fire team than this? Like, remember when they overachieved and made the playoffs and then all of a sudden everybody, on that ownership freaked out and said we could be good and then doubled and tripled down on the wrong things, repeatedly doubled and tripled down, and oh wait, that's because their GM is utterly horrible at his job.
Who also got an extension last year. You talk about Ryan McDonough.
He must have compromising photos because from going, this was like the Clippers when they got Chris Wilcox and Melvin Ely. Like, what, you're going to trade one of them,
wow,
right?
What a blast in the past that is.
And it's like, okay, we got Marquise Chris. Well, yeah, but he doesn't know how to play basketball. Okay, then we're going to get Dragon Bender. Yeah, but
he's not discernibly good at anything.
He's not athletic, and
yeah.
We don't know what to do with him yet. Okay, we got Tyson Chandler, and then Alex Len, who we want to get rid of. And you know what? Let's just take Greg Monroe, because why not? Josh Jackson, he's our guy. I'm Earl Watson. I'm going to play him at the 4.
Well, Earl Watson didn't have that much time because he was fired after 2 games of the regular season, and rightfully so. He was a god awful coach. He was the worst coach in the NBA.
Didn't they lose by like 50 or 60 on their opening night?
What's sad about the Suns is that they were 21-61, mostly under Jay Triano as the interim coach, and I thought they were actually overachieving. in some moments, I was like, they're actually getting some good games out of Devin Booker and T.J. Warren and even Troy Daniels. And I was thinking to myself, they probably should have lost that game, but they won it anyway. Like, they probably should have been under 20.
And that's just a lot of teams. Like, we don't care if we lose them. We're not starting anybody. And Josh Jackson, first, like we mentioned earlier in the draft preview last year, his agent was a bonehead for saying this was the situation you want to go to. Imagine if he tried out for Boston and Boston liked him, how things would have changed then. And,
Oh, God. Yeah. So, there's a lot was riding there with Jackson because a lot of people saw him as just top 3 consensus. And that just so happened to be where the Suns were. So they said, okay, let's just go with consensus.
The Suns were picked 4th.
Who was third? Oh, Tatum was third.
Tatum was third. But Boston wanted to have him face to face, and his agent said no.
I gotta say, I don't think the Celtics. This is just me talking. I don't think the Celtics wanted Josh Jackson anyway.
You never know.
I think they wanted the rumor with Ainge is that he was dead set on Tatum the whole time.
And it just smoke screens up with Fultz.
But it's easy to say that now because hindsight being 20/20, Tatum is a future star.
Oh yeah, the same thing when they picked Jaylen Brown and they booed him and like what are you thinking? Like
I personally thought that was a bad pick. I thought that's kind of safe, but it turned out a safe pick in that case in 2016 was good. Josh Jackson was I don't want to say a reach, but there were issues there. There were some things there where you're like, can he really develop into a good NBA player despite his like big frame and his ability to be a defender?
Well, the thing was, did he have the? Yeah, you could blow by college kids, but that your moves aren't going to work in the NBA. Can he develop a consistent 3? No, not really. You have point guards I know. Let's just keep drafting Kentucky point guards every year because if, they put out awesome people, so we're just going to keep doing that.
They were so desperate they had to bring in Isaiah Cannon, who actually played well until he broke his ankle in a hideous injury.
Well, that was just, hey, somebody on a two-way contract finally got a real deal. Hey, that shows two-way contracts are good. We're going to cut you for Isaiah Cannon.
You're not going to give him credit for scoring on the second-round pick with Alec Peters. He had a 36-point game.
Which I told you that, and you're like, who the hell is Alec Peters? I'm like, he's that kid from Valparaiso you liked last year. He was one of your small school wonders. You're like, I legitimately forgot about that.
I do agree about this one. The Marquise Chris experiment is running out of time. I think year 3 next season is the year where it's make or break. With Alex Len, that time has passed. He's an unrestricted free agent. He basically took the qualifying offer, and now he's out the door.
Well, with Alex Len, I don't know if the jury's really, if the ship has sailed on him in general. I think that could just be Philly dysfunction. But with Marquise Chris, that's going, we're reaching Noah Vonleh levels of, it's year 4. He's moved. Like, what does Marquise Chris offer other than elite jump ability? He doesn't know.
That's all he's got. Yeah.
He doesn't know how to play.
No, he's sort of lost in the shuffle. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of James Johnson when he played for the Bulls. You remember that? And he just seemed to kind of be lost in the shuffle with Detroit and Toronto, and he finally found it in Miami.
But again, like I don't want to poo-poo on him too much because who's developing talent down in Phoenix when they're all terrible? And, it's like, well, we need to max out Devin Booker. And then it's one of those things like, well, yeah, you have to, but is he really worth it? What does he give you other than shooting?
Now, the GM has sort of taken a little bit of a stab here because they bring in, and I hope I say his name right, Igor Kokoskov, who was actually he's the first European-born NBA head coach. A lot of people – he was an assistant with the Jazz, but most people know him as the guy who was the head coach for Team Slovenia when they won in Eurobasket last year. So, I mean, I know you're a Euro guy, Adam. You travel the world. Tell me more about Igor Kokoskov.
He's the one who, like you said, had Slovenia win, who with the Slovenian pride of Anthony Randolph. Like, what the hell is that? But now with Luka Doncic on your team, it's sort of, it's kind of, I don't want to say it was unfair.
And Goran, you're totally forgetting about Goran and Zoran.
Yeah, Goran, he tore it up too, but the thing about him is the Utah players liked him. It's, the European coaches have that sort of, well, we're a team mentality, and is that going to work on, is Marquise Chris a team player? Is Josh Jackson a team player? And, shed the ego. We're, almost like Ivy League. Eurobasket is like Ivy League basketball. Just, you run your play, and then when the shot is supposed to hit, that's when you take it. Don't be, there's no hero ball. Just do your, here's your role, do your job, run the play. But again, people in Utah really rallied around him, so it's by all accounts is a good signing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people had those complaints about David Blatt when he came in. Oh, can he make this work? Well, that was completely different because he also came in at the same time that LeBron went back to Cleveland. And, LeBron, look, you're going to do it the way he wants. And that's,
And basically Blatt said that. It was like, I've won championships. I'm LeBron, you've won European championships. You're useless. But with Phoenix, they offered it to Fizdale, and Fizdale turned it down.
Are you surprised, just a sidetrack, are you surprised that a guy like Kokoskov got the deal first and it wasn't Ettore Messina who got the first ever European-born head coaching position?
Messina was looking elsewhere. I know,
but his name's been in there for so long.
His name has been there, but his name has been with other bigger, better teams. Phoenix,
he might even get in now and we not even know it yet,
As of the time of risk recording, yes.
Yes.
But as for that, they didn't, they didn't set a high-profile net. It was like, well, we'll interview Triano. No, he's not getting it. Okay, we'll just take the Utah assistant who, helped cultivate that team and helped get through the Gordon Hayward mess. And, it's I don't want to say it's a good thing or a bad thing, but right now, the problem, which is, I don't know, I guess a good problem, you're going to draft the best player on your team.
Okay, you're saying because they won the lottery, they got the number one.
You won the lottery. It's a 2-horse race between
DeAndre Ayton and Luka Doncic.
Yes, Ayton and Doncic. They're already better than Booker because, like I said, Booker is good, but he's not a.
I think Devin Booker will be their best player no matter what.
He's a one-trick pony, though.
Yeah, but he's an incredible scorer. I mean, he was born to score.
And Luka will make him better. Ayton will make him better.
I agree with that. I think a player like Ayton can make him better too.
Ayton. Okay.
Wait, what's wrong?
I was mispronouncing his name like I do with most people.
You called him Ayton?
Yes.
DeAndre Ayton. That's awesome. But no, DeAndre Ayton is like you talk about built like a freaking tank. He's strong as hell.
And the problem with that is now you have Chris and Bender as you have them as big men. Okay, now you've drafted a third big man, and that's the thing as well. Now, do you pass on the size? Doncic, he will make everybody around him better. Mm-hmm. But now, what does that mean for Josh Jackson? Because really, Luka's a 2. You can play him at the 1, but
but Josh Jackson's not a 2. Josh Jackson is a 3.
Yeah, and that's where Devin Booker will be sliding over most likely. If that, what's going to happen to Brandon Knight and his big contract.
Yeah, because he had the torn ACL. He didn't play the entire year.
Or just trade down, get the Kentucky point guard du jour.
No reason to talk about their team stats. They were god-awful and everything. They were actually the worst team in offensive and defensive efficiency, which must be some kind of record.
Because they had no talent. They're just Devin Booker, like when I watched him, I want to like him. But how much of this is just you're on a bad team, go take 30 shots, nobody cares.
And he was shut down. He only played 54 games.
So this team, because we're starting to win games. You can't.
Let me ask you this one: Elfrid Payton, when he got traded there from Orlando, what did you think of him? I thought he actually got a little worse.
He did absolutely nothing to be on that, to make that team,
but he's a restricted free agent. Like, is Elfrid Payton in a situation where he might have to just accept the QO?
Oh yeah, most likely. I don't see Phoenix being like, yo, we'll give you $50 million. We'll give you $40 million. It'll be take a 1-year deal or take a 2-year deal. We might be able to think we could develop you, so take a 2-year team option. But all his, I don't want to say struggles in Phoenix. What were his stats for
Elfrid Payton?
Yeah.
12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists.
Nothing.
Shot almost 50% from the field, though.
But that's against teams who weren't caring.
Yeah.
At that point. And the thing is, what did Hennigan see in him in Orlando? Why was he untouchable? His numbers are like, I don't want to say he reminds me, because nothing player-wise, but just profile-wise. He's just like Brandon Jennings. Like, he was like, you're decent. You'll be a good backup. I don't want you playing 30 minutes.
And you never forget who Sam Hinkie got in exchange for Elfrid Payton. He got Dario Saric.
So
who's the dummy now?
Well, Hennigan.
We pretty much hit on them. The only ones that are interesting is that Troy Daniels, he's actually tied up for another year, so they're going to have him again. Tyson Chandler, I know he's making $13 million a year. With the cap the way it is, I wouldn't get rid of him anyway. I'd just keep him on the books and then let him go.
Yeah, they have nothing to play for, so there's no point of stretching anybody, no point of cutting anybody.
Jared Dudley was a bad deal, though.
He wasn't a bad deal because he's a good locker room guy.
Oh, yeah, because look how tremendous the Phoenix Suns locker room is right now.
Well, imagine if that was the Washington Wizards locker room with this lack of talent.
Well, when you have Eric Bledsoe tweeting, "I don't want to be here anymore" after you fire your coach on the internet, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, but after that, they all sort of played nice.
It was a mess of a team. But you do have some hope with the number 1 overall pick. The debate now is, who do they take?
We also, that's number 1 pick, and, well, it's a 2-horse race. This isn't like 2000, was it 13 when there's nobody?
You don't think a guy like Marvin Bagley, Mo Bamba, Jaren Jackson Jr., you don't think they can sneak in?
2-horse race.
Okay.
2-horse race.
And that's going to be doing it for the end of this version of the Gone Fishing previews for our team previews. And Adam Murray, do you want to go out with anything?
Thanks for listening.
Take care.